My name's Alex, and I'm a former gifted and talented kid that attended the program in the early 90s. And I am part of this massive awakening of souls who are remembering that they were in gifted and talented education, and we're waking up to forgotten memories, realizing that we still have a lot of repressed or erased memories. And we want to know what happened to us and why, and also why are we waking up now? Well, today I want to answer that question. I want to attempt to answer it through the lens of astrology, because there are some massively important themes here, and if you stick with me through the end of the video, it's going to make perfect sense why we are collectively waking up now. So I had to write a couple of things down so I don't forget. But if you were born with Pluto and Scorpio, this is going to be from 1983 to 1995. So if you're a gate kid in the 80s and 90s, Pluto in Scorpio is about uncovering hidden truths. So you were literally born to expose something. And Pluto is about the underworld. Pluto can also be about power struggles and manipulation, but it's also really focused on metaphysics and hidden truths and esoteric stuff. So things like remote viewing, psychic senses, lucid dreaming, astral traveling, etc., all of that apply. Another thing that's really important is Neptune in Capricorn or Neptune in Sagittarius generation. So that's going to be from 1970 to 1998. So this is interesting because that's also coinciding with the Stargate Project, which was 1978 to 1995. So that happened during the Neptune in Sagittarius and Neptune in Capricorn phases. So what does that mean if you don't know anything about astrology? Neptune is a planet of illusion, delusion, spirituality, and it's the 12th house, which is the unconscious or the subconscious. So Neptune rules the dream world. So it rules all sorts of things like astral traveling, astral projection, creativity, subconscious dreams, dream interpretation, etc. Those are all strong Pisces themes. But Neptune back then was in Sagittarius, which is our belief systems and larger systems like the education system, so aka the GATE program. And Capricorn is about capitalism, the material world, top-down structure, so power structures. Think of the triangle. So somebody's at top and then they're managing all these people. So again, thinking about if the GATE program was an offset of the Stargate Project, which many people think that it is, and also that it was connected to MKULTRA programming, then that makes sense how something that they were studying, the government was studying, up here in secret, was trickling down through our educational system and affecting a lot of people. A couple more important dates I wrote down. Uranus, if you were born with Uranus and Capricorn or Aquarius, so if you were born between 1988 and 2003, Uranus is the planet of change and rebellion. So you were born to rebel against Capricorn or Aquarian themes. So Capricorn themes, again, are top-down structures like banks, education systems, hospitals, like any kind of corporate greed type scenarios. And Aquarius is about the future, it's about technology, and it's about community. So if we're looking at these three outer planets in particular, I feel like, okay, one that I didn't write down, but I want to talk about too, is Saturn in Aries. Saturn just shifted into Aries. I think it was in April. But that only happens, Saturn is a planet that only comes around every 30 years. So what was 30 years ago? I was in the GATE program, and you might have been too if you were born in the late 80s, early 90s. Okay, so the dates on that, I believe, I didn't write those dates down, but yeah, basically late 80s, early 90s. Okay, so astrology is important to understand because astrology has energy that happens in cycles. And what was happening at during the times that we were in the GATE program, and oh my God, I can't talk. What was happening during the time that we were in the GATE program compared to what is happening now? That's what I want to explain because it's so significant. Okay, so let's start with Pluto, because Pluto is now in Aquarius. So if you're born in the Pluto and Scorpio generation, as I mentioned, so 80s, 83 to 95, you were born to uncover hidden truths, and now you're being activated. We are being activated to rebel in some way. So Aquarius is it doesn't have to be a bad thing to rebel, but Aquarian energy is about being struck with a bolt of lightning. So it's like activating the higher mind. So things that we may have repressed and forgotten about may be coming to the surface now, but it's also the time of the people remembering and the people coming together. And we're experiencing these Pluto dark underworld themes, aka what was done in private. We're experiencing that now. And right now it's kind of like we're almost in a way leading the rebellion to figure out what happens. And maybe rebellion's not the right word, more like the revolution, revolutionizing something. Then we have Neptune. So Neptune is a planet that dissolves karmic contracts. It's all about endings, and it pulls up the veil, or it hides something, an illusion. So we just have, so since the 1970s, when it was in Sagittarius, we went from the educational systems into Capricorn, which was top-down systems and materialism and capitalism, and then to Aquarius, which was about the community, the people, technology, to Pisces, which we were just in the last 3 years. Pisces was about a lot of people, I believe, were experiencing spiritual attacks, and we also saw a lot of that stuff in Hollywood. People, for the first time, talking about satanic rituals that are being done out in the open, in the public. Plus, you're hearing a lot of these stories from SRA survivors on YouTube and stuff like that, and people talking about the industry. So the veil is being lifted from Hollywood at the moment, and it just moved into Aries. So Neptune in Aries is like a cosmic reset, but Aries is also the god of war. So it's Neptune and Aries paired together is literally spiritual warfare, but Aries is also about leadership. So the last time we experienced Neptune and Aries was during the Civil War. I think that was like 1865, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. I'm not good with dates, but that's why I write it down. But yeah, so the last time we experienced the Neptune and Aries energy was literally during the Civil War. And we just had a movie come out called Civil War. Can we talk about mass programming? Okay. Hopefully we will learn from the mistakes of the past and not repeat them. But I also oddly remember learning about the Civil War in our history class growing up. So it's like, why do they teach us about history unless they want us to repeat it? So they could have done totally different educational curriculum, but for some reason they focus on wars and all of this bad stuff that happened in history, which is ironically all coming back around right now. So that's Neptune and Aries. Saturn in Aries was 30 years ago, so Gate program. That's also when the Stargate Project ended in 95, but some say it continued on covertly under the behind the scenes. But another big energy that I also want to touch on is Uranus and Gemini. This energy is important, and again, this was happening. It started to happen in Capricorn and Aquarius, or we're starting there because this is a lot of the group that's waking up right now. But let's see, that's 1988 to 2003. So again, when we're going through any kind of planets that are in Capricorn and Aquarius, we're going from top-down structures and kind of like this corporate greed energy and materialism to Aquarius, which is about future and technology and the power to the people. So it also makes sense why a lot of people are interested in homesteading these days, and why we may have had dreams of homesteading for a long time when the Uranus and Aquarius energy was activated, when Neptune was in Aquarius, even when Pluto, which is moving through Aquarius now, that could have been activated even more strongly when Pluto is in Aquarius, because Aquarius is about the people again, and everybody waking up to their own unique gifts and how we can share that with the collective. But Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So Uranus and Aquarius have similar themes, but Uranus is in Gemini now, and Gemini is the community, but it's your local community versus the collective of humanity. Aquarius is more about groups, organizations, what are you a part of? But Gemini is like your local neighborhood, your immediate family. Relationships with siblings can be active around Gemini transits as well. But when Uranus moves into Gemini, or when it moves into Gemini, which is happening probably already if you're watching this video because it's happening this weekend, Uranus and Gemini was the same energy we had in the 1940s. So that was the Roswell incident, okay? So aliens, and we've been talking about collective alien disclosure for a long time. So the Roswell incident, and then we had World War II and the Nazi experimentation. Hello, the pandemic and what they're experimenting on in people, right? And then nuclear war, Iran and Israel. Okay, so can you see how all of these themes are coming back around? So what does that mean for you and for us as a collective? I think all of this gate stuff is coming back around because we're part of the generation that is literally transforming the energies on the planet. Because like I was saying before, outer planets don't change signs often, especially all around the same time. So that's why a lot of astrologers are freaking out, like, oh, there's so much happening between 2025 and 2027 specifically. I haven't jumped ahead to 2027, but just intuitively, I keep hearing, like, in my dream world and just randomly when I'm doing spiritual channelings or whatever the heck you want to call it, I have been constantly picking up on the year 2027, and I know I'm not alone in that. So that might be the year of disclosure. What might be happening with that year coming up is that there's a collective probability based on the collective energy. Because if you're thinking about life and reality in terms of some kind of quantum simulation where we're all quantumly connected, and like I said in another video, we are still organic beings, but that doesn't mean that we're not electrically charged, especially by the sun, which is delivering light codes through the stars. Stargate, because stars are gates, stars are portals of energy. So that's why sun is so important. And then it makes you wonder, why are we told slather on the sunscreen, don't stay out in the sun? Why is, the Midwest and a lot of those states covered in gray, right? I'm lucky that I live in Arizona, but I think I have my own theories for like why we have a lot more sun out here, because there's a lot of ancient ley lines and civilization stuff, and seven wonders of the world with the Grand Canyon out here, but also Sedona supposedly being it does absolutely have vortexes there. If you've ever gone to Sedona, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You will be a changed person if you go to Sedona and go on one of the vortexes. But supposedly they also have alien spacecrafts hovering miles and miles and miles above. I think Bell Rock was the one that I heard them mention, but I also have friends that live out in Sedona. I've heard plenty of UFO sightings and those kind of stories. Plus they have UFO tours at Bell Rock too. So that's not really hidden information, right? So anyways, I don't know if they're doing geoengineering or if the chemtrails have anything to do with the lack of sunlight that we're seeing, especially if you live in the Midwest like I used to. That's going down like crazy tinfoil hat land. So feel free to chime in the comments if you have any theories about that, because I would be curious to know. But since I'm trying to stay on topic with my astrology, anyways, I just wanted to say what my point in bringing up the sun is that the sun is consciousness, and right now the sun is in Cancer, but we're about to move into Leo, the Lionsgate portal energy, which is really strong activation each year in astrology. And Cancer season is about integrating your emotions. So a lot of stuff might be coming up right now, but if we backtrack a couple months when things really got started with the new zodiac year that happened late March, early April in Aries season. So the sun was in Aries, which is again another cosmic reset. It's the reset of the zodiac year. So our consciousness is an Aries theme. So it's about reinventing yourself in some way and taking leadership in some area of your life. And then when the sun moves into Taurus, so like mid-April to mid-May, when it was in Taurus, that was about rooting your new identity in the physical world and trying to set up some solid foundations and containers for you to help you manifest what you had started in April during Aries season. And then we just had Gemini, which is when I started waking up to the gate stuff. So it doesn't surprise me because Gemini is all about community. So it's like we're being introduced to our community, whether those people are local or their internet community. But I feel like a lot of people are finding their tribe or find their tribe in Gemini season. So if you've discovered the gate recently, you're right on time with the astrology. And right now we're in Cancer season. So if you're discovering it now in Cancer season, that's when a lot of repressed emotions are coming up for our review because we're being asked to clear them so we can fully take advantage of the light codes that come in during the Lionsgate portal on August 8th. And a lot of us are already feeling this energy now. We're getting a lot of like high vibe downloads coming through. So if that's you, you're not alone in that. But why the outer planets are so significant at this time specifically and this year is because that Neptune and Aries shift happened March. The Saturn and Aries happened shortly after, and then Uranus and Gemini is switching from Taurus, which is like banking systems, and it's an earth energy, so it's like a lot of I think Taurus represents like banks and money and things that we own and stock market, and then it's moving into Gemini. So Gemini is going to be more about technology, alien disclosure, neighborhoods. But the last time Uranus was in Gemini, we had the Roswell incident happen. So there's a lot of talks and stuff that was happening with UFOs, but also nuclear technology. And Gemini is also about duality. So duality is so important. So I think if we're going by the astrological energy and Gemini being duality, we may kind of have similar themes that we noticed during the pandemic where you have two extremes of energy. So you're going to see some of humanity's worst sides and humanity's best sides under this influence. So it's so important to take control of your emotions in Cancer season and decide what side you want to be on. What are you trying to manifest? Because if you spend too much time in the dark, if you spend too much time in anxiety and fear, and you're worried about the war, or you're worried about, oh my God, were they experimenting on me? How scary. Like, it's one thing for us to awakening to whatever was going on in the GATE program and make connections between the Stargate Project and MKULTRA and Monarch mind control and all of that stuff. But to live there and continuously go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy can be a really negative thing for us. But if we just kind of recognize, okay, that's something that was happening. So rather than sit in that energy and go down, dig myself deep into this rabbit hole, like, oh my God, there's bad guys out to get me, and what if like I'm being kept track of and gang stalking and all this bad stuff and scary stuff, what if I have an implant? I've been trying to look at it in a more positive way and say, okay, this is just a memory and something that's coming up because it's trying to show me who I am now. So, and it's part of the energy that's happening astrologically, where it's just part of the energy signature, where we're literally part of the generation that is uncovering hidden truths. So, okay, bad things might have happened in those programs, but what are you going to do about it now? What are you going to do about it now? Because that's what's most important. And I believe that there's positive things that can be found from every negative situation. For example, one positive thing might be coming in contact with community. One positive thing might be coming across somebody like my channel, for example. Maybe you didn't know that you were psychic or you had psychic abilities or ESP, but then you find a channel and somebody's talking about it, and then you're like, wow, now somebody's actually going to teach me how to use these psychic skills and tap into my ESP, so I'm in control of my experience and not somebody else. So that's why these things are coming to light. They're coming to light so we can finally acknowledge it, so we can understand what's happening and then work through that energy for the bigger picture. Because right now, since we had the shift of Saturn into Aries and Neptune into Aries, this is new leaders waking up. Neptune in Aries is spiritual leaders. So I do personal astrology readings and I look at the transits and the progressions, and that is super, super important because that's going to tell you exactly where you are waking up and being called to be a leader in your community. You can also look where Pluto is in Aquarius, because that's an area that's undergoing a deep death and rebirth process. And then you can also look at where Neptune is, but Neptune and Saturn are both going to be in the same part of your chart. And then Uranus and Gemini is going to show you where you can expect massive changes. So if you're interested in a personal reading, go ahead and reach out to me on one of my social sites, either Instagram or TikTok at Statements by Alex, or I also have a description, a link in the description where you can download my free Gate Kids guide and then book a reading through there. But if you have any questions, also feel free to ask me in the comments, but let me know what you think, and if you know anything about astrology, and if this is making sense to you, and if you want me to do any more videos like this, because I could talk about astrology on and on and on, and I think it's so important to pay attention to the astrology because it's going to help us through this time and help us understand exactly what's happening on a larger picture, and hopefully help guide us so we're not going to stay stuck in fear and so we don't repeat the same mistakes of the past. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.